handouts that I'm going to pass out. And to start, I'll introduce myself. My name is Jesse Moore, and I work over at Barnes Jewish Hospital in their cardiac intensive care unit. The reason I'm here is I'm going back to school at McKendree to get a bachelor's degree, and one of the classes that I'm in involves a project where I'm going to different assisted living facilities and kind of giving some more instruction about advanced directives and answering any questions that might come up from that. So are all you ladies pretty familiar with advanced directives? You are pretty well?
Explain them.
So that's what I'm going to do. So basically, what advanced directives are is they're your predetermined wishes about your medical care, what you would or wouldn't done, or what would or wouldn't want done, if you were unable to decide for yourself. So basically what they are is your written down instructions, and your doctor has them, your family has them as well, and they basically kind of set limits to what for certain treatments that you wouldn't want. Like, let's say something happens and you had to go on a ventilator for an extended period of time. Some people wouldn't want that. Some people wouldn't want to have a feeding tube, things of that nature. Some people, let's say if they have to go on a ventilator for a short time, that's okay. But if it's expected to be turned into a long time on the ventilator, then a lot of people wouldn't want that. So it's important to kind of decide before you're unable to what treatments you would or wouldn't want done. So I wrote down in the handouts just a couple, probably like 5 of the more common questions about advanced directives. The first one is the one I just went over. The second one is what can happen if you don't have them. I kind of hinted to that a little bit at the beginning, but what can happen if you don't have any predetermined wishes about what you want? We see this a lot on the floor that I work at. I work in an intensive care unit. That a lot of the people, let's say someone has a big heart attack, and they're not doing well or on life support, they'll come to my floor where I work. And what can happen a lot of times is if they haven't decided, what they would or wouldn't want done, their family doesn't know, and so they kind of there's not a good chance of recovery for a lot of people, and so family will, if they don't know, they'll keep drawing out things, making treatments longer, more excessive, and kind of just prolonging pain and suffering. So that's one of the things that can happen if you don't have them written down. Going to the next question I wrote is what are some of the benefits of them? Two of the main ones are that ultimately what you would or wouldn't want done is followed. One of the second most common benefits is that it makes it a lot easier on families to make decisions if you already predetermined what you would or wouldn't want done. So it's really probably the main good positive thing about it is that it's a lot easier on families. So those are a couple of the benefits. Some of you may have heard the term power of attorney thrown around. 2 different types of power of attorney. One of the types that most people are familiar with is the kind that looks after finances, homes, things like that. Second power of attorney is it's separate. It's called a healthcare power of attorney, and so the first type would have to be a notarized document. The healthcare power of attorney, however, is something that, let's say you pick a person that you trust really well to make decisions for you, and you get together with that person, sign it, date it and everything, and it only kicks in also if it gets to a point where you can't decide for yourself. So it's something that's good to have for someone that you really trust, to make decisions for you. And the good thing about it is they only can make decisions if you're unable to, or if your doctor says you're unable to. So it's a really good thing to kind of plan ahead of time and say I would like this person to, I trust them enough to make decisions for me. So, and then it gets to the last question that I have there is if you don't have advanced directives and you'd like to make them, how do you do that? So the most important thing to do is to basically, think about it and decide what you would or wouldn't want done. Write it down, date it, and then give a couple copies, or make a couple copies. Keep one, in your purse. Give one to your doctor, and if you ever have to go to the hospital for anything, give that to them so they can have it on file. So, the reason I thought this was a good topic for me, especially, because the floor that I work on, we see a lot of cases where people haven't made decisions beforehand, and it ends up kind of, dragging, pain and suffering out. If the families don't know what the person would or wouldn't want. So that's about it. You ladies have any questions about them or anything?
I have a living will,
Uh-huh.
and I have a power of attorney.
Okay.
I donated my body to St. Louis U.
Okay.
So I think everything's.
Everything, yeah, you seem pretty well knowledgeable about it then. So, and you said you already had them as well, right?
Yes, I've got a copy in my room,
Yeah.
and,
Gotcha. So.
I'd be very comfortable if you made the decision for me.
Me?
Because you gave a good picture of what needs to be done, and I think most people would be able to understand
Right.
your language, the way it was presented.
Well, I appreciate it. They're good to plan, ahead of time, before it gets to that point where you can't decide. So.
And it's good to have that discussion with your family member, because like you said, it makes the family feel much less guilty about what their decision is.
Right. Like let's say, for instance, I had a big stroke and I didn't plan ahead with my wife, what I wouldn't want done, and I'm unable to communicate. She could think she's doing what I would want, keep me alive on life support. But if I haven't had that discussion, then a lot of times people don't know what to do. So.
That's a wonderful service.
So
A lot of people don't know.
a lot of people don't. Yeah, you'd be surprised. So.
If you're taken to the hospital suddenly
Mhm.
after a bad happening at home, whatever it may be,
Right.
if you do not have previous decisions made
Mhm.
about what you want and do not want,
Right.
chances are that you may end up in a bed with all sorts of equipment. And
And that happens very, very often. So.
I know, because I've been a nurse.
Have you really?
For
No.
a long time, and I think to have a predetermined decision, what you want and what you don't want, is a wonderful thing to have in your course.
Very much so. And if more people knew about it, it would be a lot easier on families.
I was just going to say, if there's the hope that even though the doctor has said this is like a massive stroke, a global stroke, is what
Right.
they called it. And my husband had this after he came out of heart surgery. He had some plaque break loose in a carotid artery. And they said, well, maybe he can go to like rehab later on. But the doctor was very negative. And I didn't know what to do, because
Right.
Joe and I had never discussed it. So he lived for 2 weeks that way, and then his body started to
Kinda
break down.
decline,
They wanted
yeah.
to send him to a place down on the other side of Springfield, and I thought, how am I gonna go visit him
Right.
way down there all the time? That's just.
Oh, that's your personal story, and
Yeah.
we see similar cases like that
Yeah.
almost on a daily basis where I work. So that's
That's a horrible position to be in.
It is, yeah. Especially because if you don't know what they would want, you could think you're
Yeah.
doing the best thing by, prolonging things, but.
Well, and they always kept saying, maybe this would help, if you went away for therapy.
Right.
But he was never able to communicate after he had the stroke, and he didn't even know when I was there.
Right.
when I wasn't there.
And I think most people wouldn't want to live in that condition, they'd be happier if the care got aimed at, keeping them comfortable, but.
Well, God took it out of my hands.
Yeah. But yeah, it's a very common situation Alright.
questions, ladies? Thank you so much for
Alright.
coming, I
Well,
appreciate
yeah,
it.
yeah, thank you for your time, I really appreciate it. Thanks for turning off House Hunters for a few minutes.
She had house hunters on.
I had I've got just a quick survey with just 4 or 3 questions, if you have time to, just regarding this presentation, if you wouldn't care to.
I'll help you with yours, Tova.
Let me grab my pen real quick, that's it, I'll keep that.
We can whisper so you gotta know what your answers are.